Hey guys, welcome to part one of DaJuan Wilson, the Scammer series. I met DaJuan Wilson at a party in October of 2024. He came to a party with a friend of mine, and he immediately, as soon as he saw me, he started trying to talk to me. Since he was there with the woman that I knew, I assumed that he was in a relationship, so I wasn't interested in him at all, even though I seen his advances. So during the time that we were in the party, he came up to me and he was like, hey, can you fix me something to eat? And so since he was with the girl, I'm not going to say her name in the video because I don't know her involvement in this scam right now. Since he was with the girl, I was like, tell your girl to get you something to eat. And so she was like, that is not my man. I'm not getting him nothing to eat. So that was like my first little indication that he was actually single. So once the party had shut down and everybody was getting ready to go home, he came by and he was asking me to put his number on his phone. We had talked briefly about what we did for a living, and he was telling me that he was very familiar with what I do, which is buying and sell tax lien properties. So I talked to him for a little bit because I was trying to see if he was really knowledgeable about the business, and he was. So we talked on the phone for a couple of days, and then I reached out to the girlfriend of mine and I was like, hey, I've been talking to this guy, the one you brought to the party. I was like, and I'm interested in dealing with him on a deeper level. So I was like, are you really dating him, or are y'all not dating? You said y'all was just friends. I'm just trying to see what's the scoop, so I can know if this guy was dateable or not. So she had told me, she was like, I don't even care. She was like, he just a broke ass nigga from LA that I met and that I thought would probably have some good dick. And so I was like, okay. So she wasn't really concerned with me talking to him. I still ghosted him for a little while. Like maybe about 2 or 3 weeks later, I seen he had been hitting me up every single day. So I hit him back up and I'm like, what's up? Can I talk to you? So he was like, yeah, but you've been ghosting me and I won't talk about it. So we got through the ghosting part and we started dating. So in the dating phase, I was trying to get to know him, and he had told me that he was from LA. He had moved to Houston. He was trying to do a car service, and in this car service, he had run into some bumps in the road, and it wasn't what he thought it was gonna be. So he had went and got his CDL. When I met him, he was on a truck. And so we was talking about my business and why he had not gotten into it. And basically his problem was that he didn't have no money. That's a big problem in this type of business because it absolutely takes money to make money. So everything that he was telling me about himself, it really made sense. But the only thing that did catch my attention was that he was 47. He had no children. He had never been married, and it seemed like he didn't really have a solid place to stay. It sounded like that he was kind of bouncing around between Houston and LA, and I was figuring that he was just, staying wherever. He had a couple of roommate situations, a couple of girls that he was talking to, or whatever. So he was staying wherever. So that kind of concerned me a little bit. But other than that, I felt like that he was very transparent in, all of his interactions. We were talking about women that he was dating at the time, and he was like, I'm single, but I'm dating a couple of women, this and that, or whatever. And I was really in the same situation. So as we continued to talk, he was driving the 18-wheelers, and we was talking on the phone like every single day. And we had plans to meet up. So y'all got to keep in mind that at this time, we are not in a relationship. So we planned to meet up and see each other, and so we did that. We met up. He got off of the truck right around Thanksgiving time. So he got off the truck and he came to see me on Thanksgiving time. So about 3 days after Thanksgiving, we were going to go on a trip, on a cruise, me and my mom and my sister. So one person had backed out. So I was telling them, like, did you want to come on this cruise with me? I can add you to this cruise. It shouldn't cost any additional money, and it'll be a great opportunity for us to get to spend together and to see each other again. And we had been talking on the phone for like a month. So he said yes, he was going to come on the cruise with me. So he got off the truck. We spent Thanksgiving together. He met my family, and then we went on this cruise. So while we was on this cruise, his phone was like blowing up. I'm talking about, it was just blowing up, back to back to back to back. So I'm looking at the phone and it's ringing, and he's like, well, I left and I didn't tell any of my family and friends that I was going on this cruise, so now everybody is worried about me. So I was like, hit your family up, let them know what's up, let them know what's going on, so nobody has been worrying about you. So he was like, I'm gonna talk to him as soon as I get back. He was like, I'm just finna turn the phone off and we finna enjoy this vacation. So he turned the phone off and we had a blast on the vacation. You're gonna see some of the pictures in the video that's on the side. So we had a blast on the vacation and everything, and we came back home. And when we got back home and we got off the truck, he was off the truck, so he was supposed to get ready to go back onto the road. So as we were talking about going back onto the road, I was telling him, he was saying, hey, I'm gonna go on the road, I'm gonna save this money, and then when I get off of the road, I'm not gonna be driving anymore, I'm gonna just be investing in trucks, and and then me and you can go into business together with these tax properties. That sounded like an absolute great idea for me, because I had been meeting several people and nobody really understood the business and knew how this was going to go. So I think that this was the defining moment when he decided that he was going to scam me. Okay, he scammed me out of $400,000. So he got off the truck, and we started talking about the business. I introduced him to my mentor. I wanted my mentor to hear his knowledge of the business, and my mentor was like, yeah, he got some knowledge of the business, but it's a lot of stuff that he doesn't know, because he couldn't get very far because he had never done it before. So he had decided that he was going to get off the truck. So I told him, I said, go ahead and get off the truck, and the auction is coming up next month. I told him, I said, I will front the money for the first house. So we were gonna go and get the house, and the deal was that we were going in 50-50. So we were gonna get the house, we was gonna flip the house, and then we were going to split the profits 50-50. And so whatever money he didn't have to put in, I would put in for him. So I would get my profit, my 50% profit back, plus whatever I had to invest in with him. So we went to the auction for the first time, and we ended up purchasing a house that was worth $300,000 for $45,000. And so this was his first time ever actually seeing this transaction go through. And he was so excited. He cried, we hugged, we kissed, we loved. We were so happy because we had finally brought a property, and we were going to get ready to go to the next step in selling it. So from meeting him in October and us buying the property on January the 7th was where we were in our relationship. So this is going to be the end of part 1 of how I was scammed by DaJuan Wilson, 47 years old, out of Inglewood, California, and he actually hangs out in Houston, Texas. So if you guys want to know the entire story, tune in, share this video, and tomorrow I will drop part 2. Thank you. Thank you guys for tuning into part 2 of DaJuan Wilson, the 400K scammer. Thank you guys for watching part one. It seems like you guys really enjoyed it. I wanted to talk to you guys to address some of the concerns that you had in part one before I go on to part two. So the first thing that I saw was that some of you guys were indicating like, he liked your friend, so why did you ever take the number? Well, I consulted with my friend and she indicated that he was fair game. She was not dating him and she did not care who it was that he was or was not seeing. And that gave us the green light and we were done with it because my friend said that was okay. The second thing was you guys were saying like, oh my God, there were so many red flags. I just wanted to let you know that maybe I was a little bit more passionate about what ultimately ended up happening to me. But at this point in the story, DaJuan did not really have many red flags at all. He was so charismatic, so charming, so understanding, so smart. He was so business oriented. He was so knowledgeable of the tax properties in which I was fairly new working in. He had 15 years experience in it. He just wasn't able to get as far as I was because he didn't have the money that I had to put behind me to move forward. And I'm trying to think of what the other one was. You guys said the red flags. You guys said the friend. Oh, and you guys were like, she gave him that money in 4 months. I didn't give him anything. He absolutely stole it. He stole it through a bank wire fraud. He had cloned my iPhone and he logged into all of my online banking for my various accounts and he just ciphered the money out little by little over time. He did it in various transactions like he payroll, Ubers, anything you could pay for with Apple Pay and bank transfers. So that's how the money was stolen. And that's why I do have a federal case against him. Okay, so that's how I wanted to answer the question. So now let me get into part two of the series. So we stopped at the part where we had made it back into Houston from Jamaica on the Royal Caribbean cruise ship. So we made it back into Houston. And we had decided on a trip that we were, in fact, going to move forward with being in an exclusive relationship. So we were trying to give each other enough time to sever our other ties with the other people that we were seeing because we were both single and we were able to be in a relationship, but we both kind of had some little whoop-de-whoops that we were still kind of seeing on from time to time. So we needed to tie up those loose ends. So over the next couple of weeks, I started noticing that his phone was ringing less and I was seeing him texting women and telling them that he could no longer talk to them. He was in a relationship. He loved this woman. And so I thought that we were moving in the right direction. DaJuan was so incredibly nurturing to me. You know, I had been going through a lot of things, and he was just kind of there. He was trying to make sure I wasn't overwhelmed, and it was just so funny because it seemed like whatever I need, he just knew the answer to it. And I would like to say that I could have felt at this point that we were moving kind of fast, but it was all just clicking together. It was all making sense. I mean, he was working in the same industry. I liked him physically. He was respectful. He was kind. We were going out. We were getting to know each other. We were going on trips. And even though he did not have the money that I had, he was not broke. I didn't bring him on and take care of him exclusively. I told you guys that we were looking to go into business together and he needed investors because he did not have all the money. So we were going to go 50-50 on a investment property, and then we were going to sell it and we were going to split the profits. So we were looking to spend no more than $100,000. So DaJuan had given me $25,000 to invest. So I was going to put forth the other 75, which was my 50 and 25 more for him. We were going to sell the property, and then we were going to split the profits, and he was going to give me my $25,000 back from his part of the profits, so that we will remain whole, and then we would use those profits to go into business together again, so I wouldn't have to front him any more money. That was the plan, right? So that's what we were doing. So we created a business to make this transaction go through, and we created that business in his name and my kid's name. And so when we went to the auction, we had put our money, my $75,000, his $25,000 in the business account, and we went there and he took the money orders out so that he could purchase the property in the business name, because my name is not on the property. The property was going to be on his name and my son's name in lieu of the business. And it didn't really matter whose name was on the property, because we were going to flip it. We were going to split the profits like we talked about. So it didn't matter. We weren't sitting on property that we were going to need. Everybody's going to have money in hand. So we went to the auction. We obtained a $300,000 house for $45,000. So we spent that $50,000 out of the account, and we left the other $50,000 in there because we didn't invest it like we were initially going to. So we got the property, and the property was not making money like we thought. It ended up having a lot of liens on it. The previous tenants were still in there. We had to evict them, and it was just going to be a process. So we were looking at going into the next auction without having made our flip. And that's not normally ideal. We want to try to get off of everything within 60 days. But we still had the $50,000 in the account to move forward, and I was prepared to front the remainder if we needed to go to an auction to get something else. Just looking at the bigger picture, and these numbers are kind of small in comparison to what I normally invest when I go to the auction. So weeks leading up to the auction, we were going out, we were in and out of the country, we were enjoying each other, we were getting to know each other, we were getting to love each other. And the relationship was great. So I really didn't see any red flags. I'm sorry, you guys. So around this time, I noticed that whenever he would be on his phone, he would be talking to his friend. This friend, I'm going to call him Okie. Okay? And Okie is supposed to be his best friend. So he would be talking to Okie. They would be talking about basketball. They would be having all this good conversation. And one day he was just telling me like, hey, this is my best friend, Okie. This is one of maybe 2 or 3 people that I really care about that lives down in LA. And I want you to get to know him. So I got on the phone and I talked to Ori. He seems very charismatic. He seems very intelligent. He had a luxury car service. And DaJuan, that was the business that DaJuan was doing before he met me. He was doing luxury car service, and he was also trying to transition over into truck driving. So I spoke to Okie on the phone, and we ended up essentially exchanging numbers. I didn't feel like that was weird, and I want to say now, because I'm about to end part 2, Okie never tried to talk to me, but he is very influential in this story. So I'm going to need you guys to tune in to part 3. I won't drag it out too long, you guys. We're about to get to the nitty-gritty of this. I just want to give you guys a little bit of backstory about DaJuan Wilson, the 400K scammer. Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of DaJuan Wilson, the 40K scammer. I'm so sorry, guys, that you're getting part 3 late. I am running crazy trying to figure this thing out. And the police and the FBI and the bank and so on and so forth. So I apologize for getting you guys part 3 so late. I did not get a chance to go through the comments on part 2. So
So I don't have any answers for your questions like I did on part two. So I'm going to go into part three. Part three is going to be about the relationship. It's going to be about the business. It's going to be about how we came into having shared bank accounts. It's going to be about how he had access to move my money. Okay? So, you guys, I left out on part three when I was telling you that I had become friends with his friend Oki. So Oki had been calling me and we had been talking, and at this point in the relationship everything was going good, right? We had bought the property at the auction. We were in processes of trying to figure out how to renovate it and how to get off of it and start making a profit so that we can continue to flip houses. So every time something was going on in our relationship, whether it was good or whether it was conflict, he was always calling Oki. So I'm talking to Oki on the phone, and he's married and he has a great perspective, and I felt like that he would be a good person to talk to that could relay a message to my man, because he had never been married and he needed to have a male's married point of view. So in the relationship, we were in a relationship. It was monogamous. It was everything. So after we purchased the houses, DaJuan started talking to me about threesomes. And it was crazy because I had never really discussed with him that I was ever even into women. So I didn't understand why he was talking about having a threesome, especially since we were so fairly new and our relationship was so good and everything was good. I was like, what's going on with this? So he had discussed with me that he wanted to have threesomes. He was saying that he had never got a chance to do it before. He was telling me about stories about going to lifestyle clubs and parties in LA, and dealing with a friend that he has in LA whose wife and the friend would go to lifestyle events. He said sometimes he would go and he would play with the wife while the friend went off and did whatever he wanted to do. And he was like, he was kind of apprehensive about dealing with the other women in a lifestyle. So I was telling him that I had been in a lifestyle for several years, and I came out of it when I got out of my marriage, and I really wasn't interested in doing it with him or anybody else because in my experience, and I'm not talking about everybody else's experience, but in my experience, the lifestyle messes up relationships. So he was crying about it. He was arguing with me about it. He was telling me like, damn, I always come in late. I never get a chance to do this. He was like, I love you, so if you don't want to do it, we don't have to do it. So we were saying that we wasn't going to do it. So at this point, we had bought the house. We won it in auction. So we decided that we was going to go to Miami to celebrate. So we went to Miami to celebrate, and we were staying on Miami Beach. We was on a strip, and we ended up going to a strip club that night. So when we went to the strip club that night, I had met a stripper that I really liked. Her name was, I'm going to say, Lena. So Lena was in the strip club, and, we was just vibing. I had chose her. He chose another stripper. And, we was just throwing money, having a good time. So towards the end of the night, Lena was like, I'm going to go with y'all. So she had not talked to him. She was with me all night. She was saying she wanted to go with us. And we was at the height of our career. We was doing some great things. So I was thinking, in my head, I was like, you know what? Maybe, you know what I'm saying, this will be the night that I can throw him like a little threesome and he won't necessarily be worried about the lifestyle shit because I wasn't interested in going to the parties. So I had talked to him and I was like, hey, chick want to go home with us, you know, what you think? Do you even like her? Yeah, whatever. He was like, yeah, it was cool. So Lena came out with us. She came back to chill with us. You know, we hung out with her and everything. Everything was everything. She was cool. She left the same morning because it was like about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And so she left. So the next night, you know, we spent by ourselves and we was hanging out in Miami, chilling, vibing, going to beaches, going out to eat and everything. So the final night when we was getting ready to go, he was like, I want to go back to the strip club. So we had a budget of how much we was going to spend at the strip club, and we had not hit that budget yet. So I was like, that's cool, let's go. And plus I was thinking that, you know, maybe when we hit the strip club, we would see Lena there. So we went back to the strip club, and this night, it was completely different. It was really slow. It was a Sunday night. Nobody was really out. So I was uninterested. You know, he was chilling, just having drinks and everything. And then a chick came out. And this chick is very, very important. Her name is Vicky. So Vicky came out and he saw Vicky and he was like, I seen his antennas like shoot up because he knows the type of women that I'm attracted to. I'm thinking because of the woman that I picked the night before. So he nudging me and he's like, look at this one, look at this one. So I'm looking over and it's Vicky. And everything is everything, right? She's beautiful, she's cool, she's everything. She can dance, she's entertaining us. So Vicky is entertaining us and everything like that. And so he comes and he tells me, he says, you like Vicky? Do you want her to come back with us? And I was thinking like, hell no, you know, I don't want her to come back with us. I don't even, you know, I don't really know. You know, I don't really do this like this. And so I was thinking that the other night was a fluke. So because we was throwing that money, Vicky didn't leave. So towards the end of the night, he was asking me again, you know, after I had a few drinks and stuff, you know, it's like, hey, you want Vicky to come back with us, you know, talk to her. So I started talking to her and she was like, she was going to come. So she came back with us and everything was really a vibe and everything. And we had begun to, all of us began to have sex. So during the sex that we was having, when it was time for him to have sex with Vicky, he couldn't perform. He wouldn't get hard in the rubber. So he kept on asking me, could he take the rubber off? Could he take the rubber off? And I was telling him no. I was telling him no because we did not know Vicky and I didn't want to get any STDs, okay? And so he was just really trying to take the rubber off and I was saying no. And so we continued on to have sex without it and he was just going to have to do what he had to do, okay? If he couldn't do it, he couldn't do it because I didn't want to risk the diseases. Okay, this is the end of chapter 3. You guys come back for chapter 4. It gets better.
Hey guys, welcome to part 4 of DaJuan Wilson, the 400K Scammer series. Thank you guys for tuning in to my previous parts. So we left off after we left Miami. So when we left Miami, we both decided that we liked Vicky. So we wanted to keep in contact with her. So we had created a group chat so that we all could talk in the group chat. And during this time in our relationship, I was discussing with him that, you know, we experienced the experience he wanted to experience, and that I felt like that it was kind of too early in our relationship for us to be, you know, really having these encounters. And I wanted us to spend more time together to get to know each other better and to get to enjoy each other better. And if our relationship needed this later on, we could always add it back. But as for Vicky, we was just gonna play it by ear because we was both kind of feeling her. So it was leading up to my birthday. And as we were leading up to my birthday, things started getting weird in our relationship. You see, we spend every waking moment together. We worked together, we went to the gym together, we ate together, we slept together, and I felt like he began to need some space. If you guys check out my videos, you'll see where we had actually been posting content in the gym. So I felt like that he needed some space because everything just started to annoy him. My choice of music, me singing in the car, me playing with him in the gym. You know, everything just kind of started to irritate him. And I was starting to see that a lot of things that I needed to get done, I wasn't getting done because my schedule had pretty much changed to his schedule. So we're having this disconnect. So I'm calling his homeboy Oki. I'm trying to get some clarity from there. I'm trying to tell my side so he can help me. You know, I'm asking him what's wrong with our personal interaction life, and he's telling me things, suggestions, and I'm doing them. But my birthday's coming up, so we had planned to go to Puerto Rico, so I felt like that this would be a good opportunity for us to reconnect. So we planned the Puerto Rico trip, and we called Vicky and we asked her if she wanted to come. So Vicky said that she wanted to come, and we were talking in our group chat, and we bought the tickets and we set up the trip. So when it came closer to the trip, Vicky was like she couldn't come. She needed to stay home so that she could work. She had a lot of things that was going on. She had a recent move. So she decided to stay home. So I called a friend of mine. We're going to call her Tasha. Tasha is a friend that, you know, I've had these type of encounters with before over the years, and I felt very comfortable with her, and I felt like she'll be an awesome alternative to go to the trip. So we went to the trip, and when we got onto the trip, you know, she came a day late. The room wasn't as expected, and various things was going wrong, but I was trying to make the best of it. So by the time that she actually made it to Puerto Rico, it was my actual birthday. So she came to Puerto Rico. It's my birthday, and now we're about to have this encounter. So we start having this encounter, and the same exact thing that happened with Vicky happened with Tasha. He could not perform. So him and Tasha were exchanging oral pleasantries because there was nothing else that they could possibly do, you know, and he was dealing with me. But he kept trying. So in one of his times when he was trying, he was talking to me and he was like, you know, I need to remove the protection, and that's the only way that I'll be able to do this. And I was like, absolutely not. I don't want you to be unprotected with any women outside of me. And he was like, okay. But then I had started hearing her being very expressive. And I was like, okay, well, maybe he was able to make it happen for her. And in that sense, great. So when we went outside to smoke after the session was over, I was telling them, like, you know, I'm trying to do this with you, but this is not working for me. I really just want to be with my man. And he said that was okay. He said he didn't like the way that it was making me feel, and we didn't have to do it anymore. So that was that. So we was just hanging out in Puerto Rico, having a good time, going out to eat, going out shopping, seeing sights. So the last night we were there, we decided that we was going to go to the strip club. So we went to the strip club, and when we was at the strip club, he knew that we weren't bringing any women home. We was just celebrating my birthday. So when we went to the strip club, we was playing around in the section, just him and I, and he smacked me on my bottom. And the bottom wind was horrifying. So I told him, I said, baby, we need to go home. You know, it's something bad going on. I'll tell you when we get there. So we go back to the room, and once we were there, I was like, you know, I'm having this smell, and it's real bad. And he was like, let me smell it. He was like, oh my God. And I was like, and it feels irregular to me. And he was like, you know what? I'm having the same thing. I'm having a feeling as well. He was like, I think that we need to go get tested because, you know, I did take the protection off. So him and I was fighting about the protection being taken off, and the rest of the trip was ruined. So we get back home from the birthday trip, and I immediately set up an appointment for us to go and see the doctor. So we went into the doctor. We told them that we had these symptoms. They gave us a shot, and they gave us a pill, and then they took our test results and told us that they would send them to us via MyChart. So I checked the MyChart, and the following day, a couple days later, and I seen that we did have several STDs. And so I knew that we had contracted the STDs in this encounter because we had already been tested like 2 weeks before we went out to Puerto Rico, and we were absolutely clean. And so I contacted Tasha, and I was like, Tasha, you need to go and get tested, and you need to see what's up with you. And I actually sent her a picture of MyChart, and I was like, this is what I seen when I went to the doctor. So she was adamant that she did not give this to us, that this had to have happened some other time. She indicated that she didn't even want to perform without protection because she don't normally do that. And I know that that's true. And she was like that, you know, he was adamant about that he wasn't going to be able to perform unless he was going to be able to do that. And he was talking to her, so he got her permission before he took it off. I was just the only one that was in the dark about it. So now here we are. I have contracted 3 STDs on my birthday. So we're at home, and I'm crying about it. I'm sad about it. I'm upset about it. And he's online trying to figure out what we can do about these STDs because I was flipping out. And I was telling him that, of course, now we're never going to have these type of encounters with any other women again because it's just not safe and it's not worth it. And so he was apologetic. He was still apologizing for removing the protection. And that's how I'm going to end series number 4. And you guys come back for series number 5. And I'm going to talk about how he got access to my money, because this is around the time when he actually got access to my bank accounts and started sending himself money from my bank accounts. So I'm going to come back with that. So stay tuned for episode 5. Hey guys, thank you for logging in to episode 5 of DaJuan Wilson, the 400K scammer. I left off, you guys, with telling you that we contracted a STD on my birthday in Puerto Rico. So when we got home, we went and we received a shot and a pill from the clinic. and we also got tested. When we got tested, we received the results back like in about 2 or 3 days via my chart. On the results, we had I had BV, we both had chlamydia, and we also had very high levels of HSV. So when I saw the results, I immediately ran into the room to show him the my chart. When I showed him the my chart, I began to cry. I I hadn't had an STD since I was a teenager. Um, we couldn't get rid of this. The doctors were like, just continue to get tested. They were like, if you have a breakout, come to get treatment. They were like, you can have a breakout now, you can have a breakout within 2 years. There's no telling. So he was on the internet trying to find cures, trying to find ways to suppress symptoms. And basically what we was determining was you just have to be as healthy as you can and ride it out. So we can't get rid of it. Um, and even with all of this being said, he was still trying to engage with other women. And so I was like, no. And if we bring other women in, we are going to have to disclose to them these test results. We want theirs, they want ours. And because he didn't want to disclose the test results, he then started saying that he was okay with us not entertaining any additional women. I reached out to his friend Oki. Now, I told you guys that Oki was going to be a very important part of the story. I believe that Oki is his accomplice with this, but I can't be for sure. So I can't say that he is, but I believe that he had a lot to do with it because his interest in the matter was for him and DaJuan Wilson, age 47, birthday June 5th, 1977, to go into business together. Oki has a luxury car service and he wants the one to purchase trucks for this car service and they go in business together. So I called Oki and I was just talking to him, like telling him the issues in our relationship, which was him not being able to perform, with me now and other women. It was him still wanting to entertain other women while having these STDs and not disclosing it to him. It was him being distant from me. So I was explaining and talking to Oki, and Oki was like, oh my God, this is horrible. He should be much better with this. I'm not understanding. This is the perfect relationship. He say he happy. So after that, I want to get into the money. It was around my birthday, so I had purchased myself an iPhone 16, um, an iPhone 16 Pro Max. And the iPhone 16 Pro Max was my primary phone. I originally had a 14 Pro Max. So I didn't trade it in because my 14 was paid for. So I just put the 14 in the drawer. At some point of time, he retrieved this phone
and he accessed it with a code that he saw me put in several times before in other phones. And what was crazy was he had told me, he was like, do your Face ID. And I was like, okay. And I did it for my 16, but I never went back and did it for the 14. So he accessed the iPhone 14 and he began to, he started off by sending Uber Eats to people in California, rides, food, gifts. He also sent Cash Apps and Apple Pays. He paid bills. All of this under my Apple ID in my phone. Okay, so at some point he upped it a notch and he decided to access my online banking. When he got into my online banking, he had access to all of my accounts, business and personal. So he began to wire transfer money from the business accounts and the personal accounts to the joint account that we had for the purposes of buying and selling tax properties. So he put the money into the joint account and then he began to Zelle himself $1,000 a day from the joint account. Okay. Now, at this point, he had not moved the money from the joint account to his personal account. So when I look into my online banking, I'm looking at a total amount of money in there, and it's still the same because he had not ciphered the money into his own account yet. So with the access to my phone and my Apple ID, he could see everything. He could see my location. He could see my text messages. He could see my social media. And he was looking at all of that in efforts to kind of just check my temperature, see what I was thinking, see where I was, see if I was onto him. But I wasn't onto him. Okay. So that is how he retrieved access to my money. And this is how this is the beginning part of the theft. Okay. Now, the property that we purchased in January, I was telling you guys about, that property was unable to be sold because it had a lien on it from a mortgage from a previous person. So we realized that we weren't going to be able to make the money that we could make on it. So we were looking for a bigger deal. And I had been having my eyes set on a couple of properties that I had saw in the auction that was coming up next. So we determined that we were going to go to the auction, and we were preparing for the auction. We went to the auction and I bid it on and won an apartment complex. And I purchased this apartment complex in my name, not in his name or the business name. And this was the beginning of our problems because he wanted to be on that property. So I'm going to end part 5 here. I'm going to come back with part 6. We're going to have some testimonials of my friends and family. I want you guys to see their take on the relationship at this point. Hi, thank you guys for tuning into part 6 of DaJuan Wilson, the 400K Scammer, the series. Okay, so we left off around my birthday when we contracted the STDs, okay? So Now we are around March. So in March, we went to the auction in the beginning of March and we purchased property. So when we purchased this property in the beginning of March, it was a apartment complex that I had found in the auction. I bought this apartment complex for $100,000 and it was worth $24 million. Okay, so we were ecstatic. We were so happy about this. So I thought. But this was where the relationship really started to go awry. Okay, so when we purchased the property, I won it at auction, and the property was solely in my name. It was not in his name as the previous property was before. It was not in the business name. It was solely in my name. So the property was worth $24 million. So we went there, we took pictures, we saw the property. It was amazing. Everything was everything, and I was very happy with it. And I was just waiting the redemption period so that the people could not retrieve the property from us through the redemption period of the auction. Okay, so he appeared to be very happy for me. But I later on started to see a change in him. He was trying to talk to me about transferring the deed over into the business name, and that way that it could have some safety of a corporation. He was talking to me about, why didn't I put it into his name? He was going to bid on it, but I didn't put it in his name. So now we're going to have to try to figure out what we're going to do about the tax liability being on me, since I already have a very high tax debt. He was just saying a lot of things that was alluding to me transferring the property over into his name. And I was indicating to him, like, no, I'm going to maintain this property. This is going to be the generational wealth for my kids and my family. And I'm not going to get rid of it. So we called Oki on the phone, and we were both telling him, what our ideas were for the property. I wanted to keep it. DaJuan wanted to sell it. So Oki was talking to us, and he was like, he was really low-key on my side. He was like, that property is going to generate a lot of money per month. You guys should kind of hold on to it. He was like, I wouldn't sell it right away. He was like, all you got to do is just hire somebody to go in and maintain the property, and you can keep this money monthly, which we were estimating would be about $200,000 a month. So, the one's argument was just how they lost it in auction, we can lose it by not being attentive to it. But I didn't figure any way that we couldn't be attentive to it. So I decided to stand on keeping the property. So a couple of days after we had received the property, the auctioneer called, and they were trying to void the transaction, saying that it should not have went on the auction block. So now we are in a fight for the property. Okay, so that's what's going on with the business. With the money, he was already still stealing $1,000 a day via Zelle. He was still transferring small amounts of money to his bank account from my bank accounts. He was still stealing with the Apple Pay, and I still did not know that the phone was missing. Okay? Now, in the relationship began to go a little sour. he wasn't performing in bed. I was annoying to him. You know, I told you guys in previous episodes that we had got to a point where he couldn't even stand my existence. He didn't want to train anymore. He wasn't interested in us being in the gym anymore. And everything that he was doing for me at first that was coming so effortlessly became a chore at this point. So, you know, I was reaching out to Oki and I was just like, Oki, our sex life is horrible. He only wants to make love to me if we're gonna have another woman involved, or if he's on all of these, you know, ecstasy, Holly. So that was where we were in our relationship. So I was calling Oki, and Oki was just like, men above 50, sometimes it be like that. He was like, but, he needs to figure out what he needs to do to be in the mood with you, and I'm going to talk to him. So Oki was having my back. He was like, this not right. You don't have to deal with this. I'm going to talk to the man. So around this time, he had introduced me to another female. And this female name is Whitney. So Whitney, when I met Whitney, he had said that they were platonic friends. They had never been together, and that she wanted to meet me. He had told her that he had gotten into a relationship, and she was very happy for him. She wanted to meet me. He wanted me to meet her. He said we were like-minded individuals, and we would probably do great together. So I met Whitney finally after he had been talking about it for weeks. I met her in the club. He invited her out. She came out. So we were in the club, and I saw Whitney, and I was like, this woman is beautiful. It was hard for me to believe that he and Whitney had never had any sexual type of transactions. I was like, the only way is if she is in a relationship and she's telling him no, but she wasn't. So I didn't see that. So when we got home from hanging out with Whitney, I told him, I said, I met her. I like her. She's a great person. I'm going to befriend her. So if you have had any sexual encounters with Whitney, please tell me now, because when she becomes my friend, she's going to tell me. And, he told me that there wasn't any, and he had not lied to me. And I said, okay. So I continued on with our day. We was having a good time. And then he came by, he picked me up, and he sat me on my bed. And he said, baby, I need to talk to you. And I said, what's up? He says, I want to be 100% transparent with you and honest with you. He said, I did sleep with Whitney. He said, but I haven't cheated on you. That was before our relationship. And, I haven't done it since. And he was like, I really hope you don't take it out on her. She doesn't know anything about this. And I would like for you guys to still be friends. I told him that I felt like he was trying to set me up, for a threesome with this woman after all that's transpired. Now, guys, I'm going to end it here. I'm going to come back to you guys with part 7. Hi, guys. Thank you for tuning in to episode 7 of DaJuan Wilson, the 400K scammer. So, you guys, I told you about the purchasing of the property.
and how the relationship turned for the worse. Okay, so this episode is going to be called Megan. Okay, so when we were first dating, and I was telling you guys that he was receiving the phone calls on the phone and the women that he was having to disassociate with. So Megan was one of these women. And so he indicated to me that he had clothes and things at Megan's house that he was eventually going to want to go and pick up. So we had already had this talk like in December. So now we're in March. So between December and March, he may have mentioned the clothes one time. So now in in March, he's like, I need to go out there. I need to get my clothes. She's trying to rearrange her house and she wants me to get my stuff out of there. So I was like, okay, go ahead and go. But he started making things weird, like saying, I'm not going to sleep with her. I'm just going to go get my stuff. Nothing's going to happen. And so I'm thinking, like, I was never even thinking any of that. I've been having, complete trust for him. So I'm not understanding why he's talking about I need to trust him, because I did. So now it's making me think that it's more to this Megan story. So I was seeing that Megan was calling, and at this point I'm like, okay, you already talked to her. You told her when you was going to pick up your stuff. What else does she want? So we were on our way to the gym, and he gets a call, and it's from her, and we have this conversation because I'm telling him, like, baby, this is more than just clothes. And so he's like, it's not, and you don't trust me, so I'm going to call her back. So he calls her back, and they are literally having a breakup over the phone. So a few key things that I had learned in the conversation, she was talking about the ecstasy pills. She was talking about the mixed pills that you buy from the service station. She was like, do you want this, or I'm going to throw it out? And then she was just basically telling him that she needed closure, like, why was he breaking up with her and everything? And the breaking up part was taking me for a loop, because he had told me that he was single and he wasn't dating any of these women. So she was talking to him, and she was like, why are you telling me that we could still be friends if this is the case? And he was like, because I have my stuff at your house. So that upset her, and she was like, say less. And she told him that she was going to throw the stuff away. So she said she was going to throw the stuff away. So he hung up with her. He told her to throw it in the trash. So she called back several times. So he called one of his homeboys, and he was like, Meg gonna be calling you, and the homeboy was like, block her. And he was like, I ain't gonna block her. So in my head now, I'm like, okay, this person is the one. So I'm skeptical about believing him, and me and him are fighting at home, and he's basically saying to me, like, I chose you, so why you tripping? Type. So he's coming up on time to go to Vegas on a trip with him and his homeboys. And he tells me, he say, well, I'm going to leave out to LA on Wednesday, and I'm going to go and see about my stuff, and then I'm going to get what I need and put whatever else in storage and throw whatever else away. And then on Friday, I'm going to ride down to Vegas with my homeboy, and I'm going to fly home on Sunday. So I was skeptical about this. I felt like he was lying, so I was asking him to give me proof. Let me see the flights. So he tried to give me the flights, and when he was giving me the flights, he was actually changing them right then. So the bank was sending him alerts like, what's going on with your account? It's multiple charges. So he called and he reconciled the things with the bank, and I saw where he was trying to go to LA. So I told them, because we was in the fight for the apartment complex, I was like, that trip to LA don't make sense. We got stuff to do. I was like, stay home, and then on Friday go to Vegas and take care of your business. And when you come back, we can reschedule your trip to LA, and when we're both on the same page. He was like, are you trying to come with me? And I was like, no, I don't feel no need to come with you. I felt like that if I came with him, I would make things worse by showing up at Megan's house with him. So he canceled the trip to LA, and he rescheduled going straight to Vegas. So at this time, it was around March the 24th. So his trip was supposed to be on the 28th. So on March the 24th, we was talking about finances, and I was telling him I was looking at the bank account and the number wasn't making sense, and I was about to start investigating it. So when I told him I was about to start investigating it, he was like, just talk to me. And I was like, nah, I'm going to talk to the bank. So on the weekend had came, and he was getting ready to go. Well, it was Thursday, and he was getting ready to go. And one of my friends that I had also met through him, that I had previously discussed, the girl Whitney, she came by the house. She wanted to come by and talk to me about some stuff that was going on in her life. So she came by the house, and as I said in previous episodes, her and I was already on, we not giving this man no threesome. So she comes to the house, and when she gets there, he started heating up the hot tub and making drinks and trying to set the stage for us to all have this threesome. But her and I was just having our separate vibes, and nobody ever got into the hot tub with him, and we kind of like left him hanging. So he went into the room, and he started packing his bags, because he was going to be leaving out to go to Vegas in the next morning. So Whitney was telling me, she was like, get your finances together now and make sure that you go over that stuff with him before he go, because I don't trust it. And I was like, I was, but I didn't quite get it done. And the next morning he left, and he went to Vegas. So we were talking on the phone, and we were both talking about how thank you. What's this, guys? We were both talking about how we were trying to fix the relationship at hand. So he goes to Vegas. So the next day was Whitney's birthday. So Whitney calls me, and she says, she wanted to do something for her birthday. I wanted to do something with her for her birthday. So I was like, come through, and we're going to have Sunday Fun Day. Now, keep in mind, this whole entire time, he is in Vegas. So when she comes over for Sunday Fun Day, she tells me that she wants to go to Vegas and basically fix my relationship. So I call him, and I'm like, if you want to fix the relationship, share your location. But I didn't tell him we was coming to Vegas. So he shared his location, and I saw that he was in Vegas. And her and I went to the airport with no bags, and we were going to hop on the plane, and we were going to go to Vegas and see him. So that concludes episode 7, and I will be back, you guys, with episode 8. Thank you for tuning in. You guys, thank you for coming in to episode 8 of DaJuan Wilson, the 400K scammer. You guys, I'm sorry I haven't been dropping the episodes on time. As you know, I'm going through this right now. This is a continuous situation. So I've been following up on leads and doing a lot of other things. So I did want to come and drop you guys an episode. Let everybody know that I'm okay. All the people that's been looking for me, I'm okay. I'm well.
All right. And so let me come into episode 8. So at episode 7, I left with that we got on the plane to go to Vegas, me and Whitney. So we got on the plane and we went to Vegas. We were taking pictures. We was hanging out. We were having a good time. When we reached Vegas, I looked down at my phone to see if DaJuan was still sharing his location, and he was. So Whitney had hit him up and was like, "Hey, we're in Vegas. We're at the dispensary. Where you at? Come and see us. We got a nice Airbnb in the sky. It's gonna be a good time. Come out." So he immediately cut off of his location. So when he cut off his location, I was calling him and I was like, "Why would you cut off your location?" I was like, You're not gonna come out and see us." He was like, "Well, I didn't have plans for y'all and I'm with my homeboys and we going gambling and I'll try to see y'all at the end of the night if I can." That's how he left it. So I was upset about that because I couldn't fathom why you would not come with me. Your woman was in Vegas. I had Whitney with me. He was dying to mess with her, and it was just everything that he had wanted. So I wasn't understanding why he didn't want to come. So he ended up not coming. So me and Whitney, we go back to the hotel room. To the Airbnb, and we're smoking. We taking our edibles. We are having a good time. So she tells me, she says, "Hey, I have a friend out here. This Haitian guy. I'm finna meet with him before he go to work. I just wanted to see him because I used to live out here." And she's like, "And we probably gonna get food, and I'll be back." So Whitney leaves the Airbnb and never returns. So I'm calling her phone and calling her phone. Now I done unblocked him because I'm calling him because I'm worried about what happened to Whitney. So both of their phones are doing the same thing. I can't get through to either one of them. So I'm sitting there in the Airbnb. I didn't go to sleep at all. And I'm thinking like, they must be together. My brain is saying they must be together. So in the morning, I'm hitting her up because now we got to get ready to head to the airport. No call back from her. I look around the room and I realize that she didn't even really leave anything. So I further felt like she was with him, and I felt like it was a whole setup to get me in Vegas, and I didn't know what was going on. So I go to the airport. So I'm calling her. I get ready to catch my flight. My flight is at 10 a.m. Now, the one flight was also supposed to be at 10 a.m. on the same flight, but he wasn't on this flight. So I'm calling him and I'm calling her, and nobody's answering. So I'm sending them text messages. They were going through at first, and then they stopped going through because he had blocked me. So I got on a plane. I came back to Houston, and then I went straight to my house to see if he was there. He wasn't there. So I was upset. I called the locksmith. I changed my locks. I was trying to text him and be like, you playing games, you with Brittany, da 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 da. But I couldn't get through to him, so I didn't even text. So the following morning was the time for us to go to the next auction. Okay, so the auction starts at 10 o'clock. So we need to have our cashier's checks ready to purchase for the auction. So I get up in the morning and I go to the bank to get the cashier's checks and get ready for the auction. And that's when I'm noticing that there is a big $400,000 transaction that's gone from the account. It was moved from the joint account, from my account to the joint account, and from the joint account to his account. And so I was praying to myself. I was like, although we going through all of these problems, I know he's going to be at the auction. I'm going to go to the auction. He's going to be there, and I'm going to be able to we gonna be able to talk. I'm gonna be able to purchase this property, and the $400,000 is gonna be there, and I'm not even gonna discuss with him how it got there because I will be there with the money. So I go to the auction, and I wait. No DaJuan. So one of my friends came. Her name is Miko, and she was waiting with me. No DaJuan. So after we realized that he wasn't coming, I was trying to figure out what happened. So I went back to the bank. I'm going through the bank charges, and I'm seeing that there is a charge on the card, his card from the joint account. And this charge was for a gas station where he was gassing up in Arizona. Well, you cannot make it to Arizona. I mean, you cannot make it to LA without going through Arizona. So I'm like, this man has stole this $400,000 out of my account, and he is on the run. So now I am calling all his friends and family. I'm trying to reach out to everybody. I'm calling his mom. His mom was like, I don't have nothing to do with my kid's business. I'm calling Oki, who has now since blocked me. I'm calling his friend Sid. I'm calling everybody, and nobody know where he is. Nobody has talked to him, and I don't know where he is with my $400K. So I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh my God, he went to LA. So I gear up. I'm like, I'm gonna drive to LA, and I'm gonna find him. So I knew some addresses of his friends and family. I had his ex-girlfriend Megan's address. I had his friend Oki address. I had his friend Sid's address. I had his mom's address, and the gym that he frequent. So I just went to LA with that information. So I get to LA, and I'm literally driving around to these people's houses, knocking on these people's door. I went to the gym. He wasn't in the gym. You know, I went to his friend's house. I'm calling. I'm on social media. And at the same time as I'm headed to LA, he still has my phone that he used to transfer the money. So he's on this phone cash apping and Zelling himself. So I called the bank, and I'm like, I need you guys to cut the cards off, change the bank numbers, because I don't know how this person is accessing my account still. He stole this money, and the bank, they're oblivious to how it's happening. So they closed down the whole thing. And I began to try to reach out to him on social media and various different platforms. And I get ready to make a post on my social media about this theft, because I'm trying to find him at this point. So when I made the post, I made it in the group called Sis, Is This Your Man? Or Are We Dating the Same Guy? So when I made the post, he deleted it from my other phone immediately. So then I had to call T-Mobile and report that phone stolen, because that's how he gained access to all of my stuff. And it was only on this day that I found it out. And this was April the 2nd. So we're getting closer to current day. Now I'm going to drop episode 9 right away, because I made you guys wait so long for episode 8. But thank you for tuning in. Hey guys, I just want to add a little clip into this story. So I have been telling you guys about Megan and how she fits into the story about DaJuan Wilson, the 400K scammer. So you guys, Megan was a previous girlfriend that DaJuan had. And I haven't quite gotten to the part of the story where I meet Megan in person. But I wanted to basically come in and not necessarily clear her name, but just give some more information about her and how she fits into the story. DaJuan lied to her. He basically met me and broke up with her and left her, for with no reason. And I think that he was trying to hang on to her in efforts to, you know, um, be with her if things didn't work out with me, or whenever he was choosing to leave, or however that may be. But I do not believe that Megan had anything to do with this story. I don't feel that she conspired with DaJuan to take any of my money. I don't believe that she is with him now while we're looking for him. And, I've talked to her on several occasions, and she has been very sweet to me. She is really a girl's girl. She's helped in the ways in which that she could. And she's really just a single mom trying to take care of her kids. And she just kind of got tossed up in this story with DaJuan and his lies. I've been by her house. I was looking for him several times. I never caught him by her house. She's always been nice to me, even though, she really doesn't have anything to do with this. And, she understands how I've been affected with this. And I just want to take an opportunity to say that, because I know that I'm mentioning her early on in the series. And in this parts of the series, I did not know her. I had not talked to her. I had not dealt with her, and I didn't know really her involvement, if any, which it ultimately ended up being none. So I just wanted to add that in, because I just want to cover the people that are not involved in the theft of my money, and make sure that I don't bring any negative attention those people's way. So I am going to continue my story time, and you guys will get to hear how I met her. But I did want to take the time to say that Megan did not have anything to do with the theft of my money. And I think that she is a good person. And I think that she is just a single mom trying to make ends meet and take care of her children. And I think that she was just kind of caught up in, this situation based upon how he chose to take it and leave, All right, everybody. This is episode 9 of DaJuan Wilson, the 400K scammer. So we ended off episode 8 talking about when I went to LA. So I want to backtrack a little bit, because I had a few of you guys asking me what happened with Whitney. I told you guys that she did not answer any of the phone calls. I couldn't get in touch with her. And I was just assuming that she was with DaJuan. So I was sending her messages and everything. And I was like, you with him, and, that's messed up. I didn't even want to come to Vegas. You wanted me to come to Vegas. I was like, I don't understand what's going on. I'm texting her this. Okay. I'm sending her these text messages prior to me actually getting on the plane. So when I got on the plane, I started receiving messages back from her, and she was like, oh my God, I just woke up. I'll FaceTime you. I can show you my location. I'm still in Vegas. She was like, I left off with my Haitian guy and I fell asleep in the car on the way to going to get something to eat. And I woke up in his house. She's like, he's gone to work. She was like, I can share my location. I haven't seen the one. I'm not with the one. She was like, and I don't know where he is. She was like, is he on the plane with you? And I was telling her I was already on the plane. The one was not on the plane with me. And I couldn't FaceTime her because I was in flight. But she did share her location and she took some pictures to show me that she wasn't there. She was like, call me as soon as you touch down because I'm wanting to clear my lane. So when I touched down, I had hit her up and, we were both just talking about like, where DaJuan was. Nobody could get in touch with him. I was blocked and she was blocked also. So she caught a later flight coming back into Houston. Her car was parked at my house because if you guys remember, we left together last minute and decided to go ahead and go and catch the flight and go to Vegas. So she came by and she picked up her car and we talked briefly. I was apologetic to her because, I had basically accused her of being with DaJuan and she was trying so hard to show me that she actually was not with DaJuan. So I missed that part of the story when I was telling what happened in Vegas. So at this point, I'm going down to LA. I'm trying to find DaJuan. I'm trying to reach out to all of his people, and I'm hitting dead end at the dead end. So I get a phone call from Vicky. If you guys remember Vicky, she was a woman that we met at the strip club in episode 2. So I get a call from Vicky, and Vicky is like, what is going on between you and DaJuan? And I was like, we had a breakup, and I feel like that he ran off with my money, and I can't find him. I was like, what's up? And so she sent me a screenshot. She sent me a screenshot showing me that he had reached out to her, and he had told her that we had broke up. And she had said, y'all are my favorite couple. Y'all just going to talk. Y'all be able to get back together. Everything's going to be fine. And he was like, no, I don't think that we're going to get back together. And then he was just trying to hit her up, kind of like, how you doing? What you doing? You okay? So she wasn't responding back because she didn't really want to cross me. And she was just like, she didn't know what was going on. So she called me and told me. So I had told her, because I was looking for DaJuan, I was like, hit him back and see where he is and see what he's talking about, because I'm sure that he's going to try to come and see you. So she hit him back and she was like, I'm just checking on you to see how you doing. And DaJuan had hit her back and he was like, I want to see you. He was like, I'm out of the country right now. I want to see you. And so she sent me the text messages. So I was telling her, like, call him, talk to him, get to see if he's going to actually come into the country and come and see you. And I'm going to meet you down there where you at, because she lived in Atlanta. So I felt like that I had at least somebody that could reach out and talk to him. So my son contacted him, and my son sent him a text message and was like, what's going on? My mom is distraught. She's crying. She's upset. She was wondering what happened. She said you didn't come to work. And DaJuan sent him a text message back. The text message is below. But what it said was that I had broke up with him, so he left with the money. he was going to keep the money to secure himself, and that he was going to attempt to sell a property and give me the money from that property. So he apologized to my son, and he said that he might block him later. So I was so afraid at this point because he had just outright said that he was going to run with the money. So I called his mom and I was like, can you please call him, tell him to come home, tell him that I need to talk to him. You know, I'm just trying to get through to him by any means. So his mom was like, I'm not going to get into my kid's business. I'm sorry that things didn't work out between you and DaJuan. And I really liked you. And I was excited at the thought that I was going to have a daughter-in-law. So that was kind of how she left it. So with that, I went out to L.A. So I'm at L.A. I'm knocking on doors. So I go to this address that I had found for Megan. I had found this address when I just looked her up online. And I remembered the address because it looked familiar as an address that would pop up in his phone when he would be like online trying to order something. You know, and you get to address line and like a known address kind of like pop up. So I seen that address. I recognized that address. So I went to it. When I went there to the house, she was not there. I had rung her doorbell. She was not there. So I went across the street. I got me a fish sandwich. I came back. I sat down and I waited for her to come. And I watched several people come in and out of the apartment building. And I was looking at them and I was just kind of profiling on who I felt like DaJuan would talk to because I had never seen Megan before. So after sitting outside of her house for a couple of hours, I saw her pull up and she got out the car and she had her children and she was getting ready to go inside. When I saw her, I looked at her and I felt like this has to be Megan. So I was watching her front door to see if she went in, and I seen that she did. In the same way that I had found her address, I found her phone number, and I called her and I was like, I'm outside. Tell DaJuan that I'm outside. And so she said that DaJuan wasn't there, so I hung up. So she called back and she was like, you can't just do that. Like, what's going on? And I was like, I'm outside your house. I'm looking for DaJuan. He stole this money from me. And she said, I'm going to come downstairs. I'm going to talk to you. She said, DaJuan isn't here. He hasn't been here. She was like, but I just want to talk to you to see what's going on. She was like, I have children in here and I want to protect. And I said, that's fine. I said, please come down and talk to me. So she came down and we was just basically talking, exchanging notes and stories and seeing what was going on. And I promised her that I was not going to hurt her or her children because I was there looking for DaJuan. Now you guys stay tuned for episode 10. Hey guys, welcome to episode 10 of DaJuan Wilson, the 400K scammer. So you guys, I am going to do this episode. It's going to be a little bit different than the previous episodes because I'm not going to start off on where I left off on episode 9 because I want to give you guys the current events. So currently I have found DaJuan Wilson. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to take off the posts that are saying that I'm offering the $50,000 rewards for his location because I have his location. I found him. I have talked to him. DaJuan has sent me half of the money that he's stolen. He has put it back in my account. So he has put back $200K in my account. And we have an arrangement for him to put another $100K in the account by the end of the upcoming week. And then also we'll have approximately $100K left that he is going to make in payments. So, you know, he and I talked just for references because, you know, I want to let you guys know he was just like, he took it because he thought that I had the $24 million apartment complex. So he felt like that I was leaving with that and he was going to leave with this money, and then everybody could go and just make their money how they were going to make it, you know. And that doesn't excuse it because you took it and we didn't agree upon you having it and all kind of things like that. But that was his logic behind why he ended up taking the money. And so, you know, he sent me that money. You know, I know that he have more, but, you know, that's all that he sent. He talked to the lawyers. He developed the payment plan. And so he sent the $200,000 in good faith. And, you know, we trying to recoup the money that way. As far as the charges and the police and everything is concerned, I am giving them the information in which he is giving me. Like when he talked to the lawyer, we pass that on to the police so they know that, you know, he is trying to pay this money back in the way that he's trying to pay it back. And so, you guys, I'm just trying to recoup my money at this point. And so, I'm not going to leave you guys hanging. I know that we're on episode 9 and I'm still telling the story, and I still intend to fully tell you guys the story on what happened. But I did want to update you guys right away to let you know that I have found him. I have been in contact with him. He is paying me my money back. So we are no longer in the search of DaJuan Wilson. Now we are just kind of in the story of what happened. And I hope that you guys continue to be invested in the way in which you guys have been invested so far. You know, I also want to thank everybody. I want to thank everybody for all the leads that came in as to where he is. I want to thank everybody for all the love and the support and the shares and, you know, and helping me, because everything that you guys did led to me getting my money back. So I did want to come in and tell you guys the good news, and you know, we just gonna have our finger crossed, and we just gonna hope that he do the things that he says he's gonna do. If he does, then by June I should be completely paid in full. So I know I've been giving you guys 10-minute episodes, but that's the update. And it's not quite 10 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and post it as is, as episode 10. And then tomorrow I'm going to come back, you guys, with episode 11. And episode 11 is going to pick up where episode 9 left off. So thank you guys so much for supporting me. And I'm going to continue to bring you guys quality content. And I love everybody. And I see you tomorrow. Hey TikTok, welcome to episode 11 of the 20-part series, DaJuan Wilson, the 400K scammer. Okay, you guys, so I made the episode 10, which was like an interim, letting you guys know that I had found DaJuan Wilson, and he had given me a portion of my money back. So I told you guys I was going to come back in episode 11 and continue to tell you the story. So I left off in episode 9 where I had traveled to LA looking for DaJuan, and I had pulled up on Megan, and her and I basically discussed, we exchanged notes,
and we were talking about DaJuan. She was saying DaJuan wasn't there. He actually was not there. You know, the relationship that Megan had with DaJuan and the relationship that I had with DaJuan was almost the exact same relationship. He did the same things. You know, it was like I was telling her a story that she had already known. She was telling me a story that I had already known. You know, so she wanted to make sure that I had no intentions on hurting her or her children, and I didn't. And I explained to her that, you know, all I want to do is get in touch with DaJuan. So I left her house when I realized that DaJuan wasn't there, and I went to his mother's house. I pulled up on his mother's house. I left a note on her car window for her. I went to his friend's Oki's house. In this story, I've been calling him Oki. His real name, you guys, is Ori Boone. Okay? So I went to Ori's house, and DaJuan wasn't there. Ori wasn't there. So I left a note on Ori's door, similar to the one that I had left on DaJuan's mom's door. So I went to the gym. I looked for him at the gym. I spent several days in LA just driving around trying to find him, reaching out to people, trying to get people to get in touch with him so that he could get in touch with me. He was not talking to me. So after I had reached out to everybody, I had been in LA for like 3 or 4 days. I was deciding to go ahead and go back to Houston and kind of regroup and figure out exactly what else I was going to do. I was trying to get the police involved at this time. So on my way back to Houston, I got a phone call from the Ontario Police Department, and Ontario is where his mom lived. And so the people was calling me from the Ontario Police Department, and they were basically like, you know, you are harassing his mom. You knocked on her door. You told her about this $50,000 ransom on her son's head to him. And I was like, no, I didn't. I offered a $50,000 reward for anybody who can give me information that led to me finding him. And this is what I told the police. And I asked the police, I said, why is it that she's calling you guys about me coming by her home instead of contacting her son about the theft of my money? So the police was like, well, her son isn't telling her that he's giving her another story. I said, well, that's the problem. And I verified with them that I had done nothing wrong. I hung up the phone, and I was good with that. So after the phone call with the police, and I'm headed back to Houston, I decided to get online and contact the FBI because the amounts of money was so high that, you know, I wanted to reach out to the FBI to do it because I felt like the police wasn't quite helping me. Every time I went to the police station, they were referring me to a different county or a different police station to file the case. So I was kind of just getting flipped back and forth. So I went through the FBI myself. I filed a case with the FBI. So I came back to Houston, Texas, and I went to the Katy Police Department. At this time, I'm on live. I'm talking to you guys. You know, I'm trying to see, you know, how I could go about finding them. So I went to the Katy Police Department, and I got a detective on the case. I opened up a case. I filed charges. The Katy Police Department was the first people to actually pick up the charges on DaJuan. So I got the charges with the police department. I took the police report to the bank, and I began to dispute all the charges that had been made on my card by DaJuan through the cell phone. And so I began to dispute all of the charges. I put up the $50K reward, and everybody was calling me with all of these leads to where he was at. I was getting several women was calling me, and they was like, you know, hey, I encountered him. You know, I had relations with him. You know, he came through. I saw him. You know, and they were like, I'm gonna try to talk to him, get him back around so that you can get him. And I was talking to these women. I was trying to use these women to play him. I was gonna pay these women to help me get in contact with him, but he just really wasn't spinning the block. He was literally like jumping from state to state, city to city, meeting women, being with them within the 2-3 days, and then bouncing, right? So I had got a great lead. This was probably about a week in of me being back in Houston. I had got a great lead that he was out of the country. So I had figured out he was out of the country. I figured out that he was flying back. I knew the date, I knew the time, I knew the airport in which he was flying back. So I began to prepare to travel to LA because he was flying back into LA from out of the country. So at this time, I'm still friends with Whitney. I'm talking to his homeboy said. You know, I'm still trying to get in contact with him. I'm not trusting Whitney, but I'm kind of trusting Whitney, and I'm still back and forth. Like I told you guys, I've been back and forth on her. So I flew to LA, and I didn't let anybody know I was there this time except for my best friend. So when I got to LA, I was calling some of the guys that had contacted me in regards to the $50,000 reward, and they were going to hook up with me, meet with me to help me find him. So I was in LA waiting on these guys. So I received a phone call from Megan, and Megan was just basically saying like, hey, I don't have anything to do with this. I don't have your money. I'm not spending your money with DaJuan. You're saying my names in these episodes. It's affecting my life. You know, how can we resolve this? How can you clear my name? And so I told her I could very well so clear your name. The only thing that I want in return is I want for you to call DaJuan on 3-way so that I can speak to him. So she was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to get in it. She was like, the most that I could do for you is to send him a message letting him know that you want to talk to him. So I basically made this heartfelt message, and I sent it to her to send to him for me to talk to him. And in this message, I'm just like, you know, maybe this is a misunderstanding. Let's resolve this. Let's get together. Let's talk. Call me one-on-one. So she sent him the message. And then I reached out to Whitney, and I was like, hey, you're not blocked. Call him. Okay, guys, welcome to episode 12 of DaJuan Wilson, the 400K scammer. I'm so sorry, you guys. I have been gone for about 2 weeks. I'm back. I'm going to finish up this series for you guys. So we left off on episode 11. In episode 11, I ended up talking about how I made it to LA. And I was looking for DaJuan on a tip that I had gotten that he was out of the country. Okay, so let me backtrack a little bit. So I put the 50K award up looking for DaJuan Wilson, and I had received a tip from a lady that was in Belize. And the lady was telling me that she had physically had eyes on DaJuan. and she knew that he was there. She sent me proof of such, and that's why I took her tip seriously. So she was able to tell me some information that I needed. I don't want to disclose the information because I want to protect the person that helped me. And so I got on the plane and I went to LA, and I was looking for DaJuan because he should have been in LA at that time. So when I got to LA, like I told you guys in the last episode, Megan had called me and she offered to send him a message for me, and she did. So I called Whitney and I told Whitney, I said, you know, I was on the phone with Sed and Megan, and I was trying to get them to call DaJuan on three-way, and both of them refused to call DaJuan on three-way. I said, now, you are the only other person that I know that is not blocked. I was like, please call him on three-way because I need to speak to him, and I think that this whole thing is just a big misunderstanding. We need to speak, and probably we can resolve this. And I felt like that I could talk to him because when I was talking to Megan, she kept saying that he was upset about the second property. If you guys have been watching the episodes, you know I told you that we had got the first property was a house that we had got in January, and the second property was an apartment complex that I had got in the auction in March. Right now, I've been going through litigation with the apartment complex with the county, with Harris County, because they want to say that it was a mistake that apartment complex was on the auction block, which is not legal, you guys, and that's why I'm fighting it. But I don't have the apartment complex. So Megan was telling me that he was saying that basically I was leaving him and I wasn't giving him any of the assets from the apartment complex. Now, you got to keep in mind, DaJuan did not put any money in on this apartment complex. This was my apartment complex, my money, my everything, that he just kind of wanted half of because he was my man, I guess. So when we split up, I wasn't even thinking about him receiving anything in regards to the apartment complex. But I was still fighting for the apartments. He thought that I had the apartment complex, and he had just chose that he was going to take this money and leave with this money, and that was going to be compensation on him, his own self. So I wanted to talk to him, mainly to be like, you took this from me, you stole from me, period. You made up your own agreement, and you stole my money, and I don't even have what you feel like I had. So you were counting my pockets, in essence. And I wanted to say that to him, you know, because, you know, that's what I wanted to say. So I talked to Whitney, and Whitney had called him for me on three-way. When she called him for me on three-way, he answered the phone, and I was like, hey, call my phone. I need to talk to you. I want to talk to you by myself with nobody else involved. So he was like, I do want to talk to you. I'm going to call you right away. I was like, hang up and call me right now. So we hung up the phone, and I waited about like 10 or 15 minutes, and I started getting nervous because he had not called me back yet. So then my phone rings, and it's him. So we're talking on the phone, and he was like, I had no idea that you didn't get the apartment complex. The money that I took was predicated on you receiving the apartment complex. And, you know, he was like, I'm so sorry about everything that happened. He was like, I'm going to try to get you this money back the best way that I can. He was like, I spent $200,000 running from you. And that was really baffling for me because I didn't spend $200,000 chasing him. And we was at the same places in the same time, living in the same type of living situation. But anyway, I digress. So he said, I spent $200,000 running from you. I'm going to give you $100,000, and then I'm going to sell this property. He was talking about property number 1 that was already in his name. He said, I'm going to sell this property, and I'm going to give you $100,000 off of that property. So he was like, and then from there, I'm going to pay you the rest, however it is that I can pay it to you. He was saying that he had some things going, and he was going to pay me the money. So I told him, I said, I want to see you. I want to see you face to face. I want to meet with you. We need to talk about this. So he was very apprehensive about meeting with me because he was saying that I had a price on this to him. So he was like, I don't want to see you. I want to see if we can just figure this out. I can just transfer the money. So I was at the mall, and I had received a notification from the bank that he had in fact transferred the money into my account. So I called him up and I was like, I got the transfer of the money. And so he was like, will you be upset if I don't see you? Because I've already sent you the money. I said, no, you need to see me. I'm going to be upset if you can't even face me with this. I said, and plus I need you to talk to the lawyers. And the lawyers that I was talking about were my lawyers for an existing case that I currently had with the IRS in regards to my income. That's why it was so important for me to get this money back from him, because him having that money looks as though I'm trying to hide funds from the IRS in a previous case that I have with them regarding this money. So I had him call the lawyer. The lawyer was on the recording line, and the lawyer basically recorded him indicating that he took the money, the amount of the money, how much he paid back, and that he was going to pay it back, the rest. So the lawyer recorded that conversation, and the attorney sent it to the police about my case, in regards to my case. So the police were saying that recorded conversation was more than enough evidence that they needed. They were even willing to stop the investigation in looking into the bank statements and everything like that, because the numbers were involved in the recording. So after everything was said and done, I took his deal. I accepted the money and the promise of the house transfer into my name. I mean, the house selling and the money coming into my account. So after that, him and I were then in contact with each other. I could call him, I can reach out to him directly, and I didn't have to go through all these measures to try to look for him. So I took the post down in regards to the $50,000 because I was already in contact with him, and that post was for me to be able to find him. So I'm talking to him on the phone now on a regular basis in regards to this money and how it's going to get back. And his main focus has been like, take the post down, take the post down, take the post down, take the post down. And so I was just like, I'm not going to take these posts down. I don't have all my money. I don't feel comfortable with retracting the case from the feds or anybody or the police because I don't have my money. I was like, pay me some more. I may feel more comfortable to, take posts down or take the, remove the charges. So he said he's going to try to pay me as quickly as he can. So recently he called me back and he indicated that he was trying to sell the house. The person who he was trying to sell the house to did a title check on it, and they determined that it had a lien, like I told you guys before, and that they did not want to buy the house. So now we're back at square one, and he cannot sell the house. So now we're thinking about moving that property over into my name. Hey guys, welcome to episode 13 of DaJuan Wilson, the 400K Scammer. So this episode is going to be called the Whitney episode. I know you guys have been wanting more information about the people that's involved, so I'm going to drop a few more episodes, and they're going to be about each person that has been involved in the case. So, Whitney. I met Whitney in, I think it was February, and she was already previously a friend of DaJuan Wilson. So he was talking about her. He was saying hey, I want you to meet my friend Whitney. She is a nurse. She's a single mom. She's, you know, she got a good head on her shoulders. He said, I feel like that she is the type of person that you would like to hang out with. I think that she's a good person. And I asked him, I said, you know, have you ever been with her sexual? He said no. So I was like, okay, cool. I would love to meet her. He talked about her a couple of times. So eventually we were going out one night, and he had invited her out to the club. We went to Urban Social in Houston, Texas. So he had invited her out to the club, and she came, and I met her. I thought that she was beautiful. I thought that she was smart, and I was looking forward to being friends with her. So when I met her, I wasn't feeling good that day, and I felt like, man, I didn't have a good demeanor. I didn't have a good attitude, but we had exchanged numbers. And so I had hit her up, and I was like, you know, you met me on an off day, and I'm hoping that we can meet again, and, you know, I'll be better. You can get to know the real person that I am. And so she was like, no problem. We all have bad days, etc. I'm interested too. So when I was home, I told DaJuan, I was like, look, I'm going to be friends with this girl. I said, so if you have in fact had relations with her, please let me know right now, because once I become friends with her, she is going to tell me about the relations if they happen. And so at first he didn't really say that he did or not. He was just kind of like, you know, okay. So we started talking about something else. We started hanging out again and everything. And he picks me up and he places me on the bed and he says, baby, I need to talk to you. He said, I did in fact have sexual relations with Whitney. He was like, but I have not cheated on you. He was like, I did that well before we were together, and we're just platonic friends, and I didn't tell you about it because I didn't want to have to lose her as a friend. So now I'm kind of skeptical about being friends with her, because I'm thinking at this time, like, why is he lying to me? Like, I felt like that he had never lied to me about a female or anybody. So I was like, what is it so special about this woman that he's lying to me about it? Or that he lied to me, even though he had came clean. So so after that, I was talking to Whitney on the phone, and I didn't need to talk to her about the relations because he had already told me that it had took place. So I was just trying to see, you know, if she was cool. She still kind of seemed like she would be a good person. So we had a couple of conversations, and then the birthday trip happened that I had told you that that we went on with Tasha, where we had contracted the STDs. So I was talking to Whitney about that and everything, and you know, we had become friends, I guess. So she wanted to come by the house and chill with me. She wanted to talk. She was going through some things, and I was like, okay, that's cool that you can come by and talk. So I had told her already that, you know, I wasn't okay with having a threesome with her and him because, you know, he had lied about the relationship that they had, and, you know, I just didn't feel comfortable with it. And I was telling her that because of what happened on my birthday, that I wasn't gonna have, you know, any more threesomes with him. So she was cool. She came to the house, and, you know, he was really trying to like egg on us having a threesome. Like, he turned on the hot tub, he turned on some music, he was trying to make the ambiance. But, you know, she already knew that we wasn't gonna do it, so she wasn't like forcing it like he was. She was more like trying to talk to me and spend some time with me by herself. So when he realized that wasn't nothing gonna go down, he just went into the other room and started packing for his trip to Vegas, which was like the last time I had seen him when he left to go to Vegas.
So, you know, she was telling me about all of these problems that she was having. She was about to get evicted from her house, and you know, she had got fired from her job, and she had just got her kids back from her ex-husband, who had picked up her kids from school and had ran off with them. So she was telling me, you know, what she needed, and like it was like about $3,000 worth of stuff. So I gave her like $2,000. She promised to pay me $500 a week until I was paid, and she hasn't done that. I haven't received not one payment from her. So the following, so when he left to go to Vegas, her birthday was that Sunday. He was supposed to be back that Monday. So that Sunday, she was like, she was coming over. We was going to have Sunday fun day. And she came over, and we was getting ready to go out. And when we was getting ready to go out, she was like, let's just go to Vegas. Let's just go to Vegas. She knew that my relationship was kind of struggling. And she was like, let's just pop up on him. He already had his weekend fun. He's just going to be preparing to go home the next day. And we just pop up on him. We can all have some fun. It's my birthday, you know, and everything. So, like, I was like, kind of apprehensive about it. I was like, no, I didn't want to just pop up on him. You know, I never had done that before. So, you know, I was talking to him on the phone, and he was saying, yes, he loved me. He wanted to work on the relationship. So I was like, okay, well, maybe he's not doing nothing. Let's go ahead and go and see. So we hopped on a plane with no luggage. We literally left straight from the house like we were going out, and we went to the airport, and we caught a plane, and we went to Vegas. So when we went to Vegas, her and I had got an Airbnb. I called him from the dispensary, and he did not come to see us. And so me and her went back to the Airbnb, and we was just gonna do our own thing. Well, when we got back to the Airbnb, she was like texting somebody. I don't know what was going on with that. And then she was like, hey, I'm gonna meet up with my friend. We're gonna go get something to eat. I'm gonna bring back the food. And she was like, he gotta go to work. So I was like, cool. So when she got ready to leave, I was like, well, why don't he just come up? And she was like, no, we're gonna go get the food, and we're gonna come right back. And I was like, okay, cool. So she left with some unknown guy. I didn't have no location, no person, no nothing. And she never came back to the Airbnb. So the next morning, I flew out and I came back home. I was under the impression that she was with DaJuan. So I was like texting her and texting him like, you know, y'all lied to me. Why are y'all doing this? If you wanted to meet with my man and have with him, you could have just done that. You didn't even have to have me here. Like, what is going on? So, you know, she was like, I'm not with him. She was like, I'll FaceTime you. And, you know, I left with this guy. I was drunk. And I fell asleep. And I just woke up, and I'm at his house, and he's gone to work. So now I'm back and forth again. Like, is she right? Is she not right? I'm not knowing what's going on. So when I come back, I can't get in touch with DaJuan because he has now ran off with my money. So I'm talking to her, and I'm trying to figure out where he is, and I'm basically telling her all of my moves. Like, she's like in with me on me trying to find DaJuan Wilson. Okay, and so, you know, I started making the videos. I was getting in the car, and I was driving to LA. The person that I was riding with was like, I'm not understanding why he keep having one step ahead of us. He was like, you know, it's got to be somebody that is giving him the information. And he just assumed that this person was Whitney. Okay, so he was like, don't tell her nothing else because I don't want him to have the drop on us. Now, guys, I am not finished with the Whitney episode. So if you guys stay tuned, I'm going to do a 13 part 2 for Whitney. Okay, so thank you for tuning in. I'll see you at the next episode. Okay, guys, I am dropping the second part of episode 13, which is the Whitney episode. So, you guys, I stopped at the part where DaJuan left to Vegas, and her and I decided we were going to go to Vegas to see him, and he did not show up. And I went to we were at the Airbnb, and she pretty much left me there by myself. So we were at that part. So after I got home, I was
calling her because I thought that her and DaJuan were together. I thought that she left me in the Airbnb and she went to go meet with DaJuan. And so I was texting them both, like, mean stuff, like, if y'all are together, y'all, why you got me out here? I was texting him. I was like, don't come back to my house. This is all going to be over with. And so she was hitting me back and she was like, I'm not with DaJuan. I didn't have nothing to do with DaJuan. She was sharing her location. She was FaceTiming me. And so I felt like maybe she was telling the truth. So when I came home, DaJuan was gone. He had took the $400K and he had blocked me. So I was trying to get Whitney to call him for me because, as I said, she was his friend. And I was trying to get her to call him for me so that I can get in touch with him. And apparently she had told me that she was on the block list as well. So the next day after we had got back from Vegas, we were supposed to go to auction. So I was like, okay, he disappeared with this money. He is going to for sure come to auction because he had never missed an auction and we were going to make some money together. So I was like, he's going to for sure come to auction if he doesn't do anything else. So me and my friend Miko, we went to auction and he was not there. So I called Brittany and I was like, he's not at auction. I don't know what's going on. I was like, what's the problem? I was like, call him and see if you can get in touch with him. So she was like, I'm still blocked. He blocked me. And so I went to the bank and the bank had told me that he had used the card in Arizona. And you can't get to LA without going through Arizona. So I knew that he was on his way to LA. So I hopped in the car and I grabbed the person that is going to have his own episode and we went to LA. On the drive to LA, I was talking to Brittany. I was telling her all of my moves. I was telling her, the people that I was trying to use to help me get in touch with him. I was telling her where I was going. I was telling her how I was getting the information. I was just talking to her through everything, and she was like helping me. She was like legit helping me with ideas. She was like legit telling me like, I think that you should do this, or I think that you should try that. And as we were riding, me and the other person, I'm going to have their own episode. As we were riding, he was like, stop talking to her because she's the only person that we're talking to. And it seems like he got the drop on everything that we're doing. So I had like slowed down the communication with her and I started to feel like I couldn't trust her. I was posting these episodes and you guys were like, what's going on with Whitney? You guys weren't trusting of her either. And so it kind of had me on the fence with who to trust and who not to trust. The whole situation did, and it wasn't just her. It was a lot of people that I couldn't trust. And so she was talking to me every day, and she knew about the reward money and everything. And so she kind of just started telling me the different things that was going on in her life. I had already, like I told you guys in the beginning episode, I had already helped her with the rent and everything. So now she's trying to get to Hawaii for a job, and she has an issue with this car, and she's trying to get her car fixed or a new car. And she's like sending me cars and telling me what's going on with her. So I'm kind of getting upset because I'm like, this is insensitive because I am going through this where this man took all this money from me. Like, why is she asking me for things, for money? And so she didn't directly ask me for money. So You know, it wasn't like I could just say something to her about it. She was just showing me things and sending me text messages of such things. So, at this point in the story, she had got me in touch with DaJuan, and I was talking to DaJuan on the phone, and he was basically saying, like, you know, I want to repair the relationship. He was like, you know, but you've been on the internet, you've been doing all this stuff on the internet, and I hadn't got you enough of your money back. I want to get you more of your money back. I want you to take the things down off the internet so that we can move forward. And Brittany was just like, yeah, and me too. Like, I want to be with y'all. She was like, y'all need to help me get to Hawaii so that I can get this job with this doctor, and you know, I can make my life better, and we just gonna all be together like one big happy family. And I was just like, I don't have any money to help you get to Hawaii. I was like, he stole all of the money. And, you know, I'm hearing you ask for certain things that I cannot give to you. And as far as the $50,000 reward, the $50,000 reward was for somebody who could tell me his location. I was like, you never told me his location. I said, I only offered $500 for somebody to get me on the phone with him. And so if you want to be paid with that, you take the $500 out the $2,000 that I previously paid you, and that I lent you. And so she was like, you know, the money's gonna get back. Y'all are gonna be fine. She was like, you know, everybody is telling you don't be with him no more. Don't worry about them. Don't talk to them. She was like, because it's really about you and him and whatever it is that you decide. She was like, I want to see everything work out like that. So, at this time, he was upset about the post. So he was saying that we can't work anything out outside of the money unless I took these posts down. And so I feel like that we need to work out the money. So my choice was to continue to post to you guys and bring you guys the content. So Easter came, and you know, I was talking to Brittany on the phone, and she was just basically saying, like, it sounded like she was saying, like, I'm giving up on trying to have you guys help me with this. She was just like, I'm about to get in my books. I'm about to get on my stuff. I'm about to pass my test. I'm about to get money. And so I was like, you know, that's really what I think that you should do. And so I was laying in my bed, and I was looking at all of his things that was still in my house. And I was talking to my friend Nez, and I was like, I'm about to burn this stuff. So me and Brittany was texting back and forth, and I told Nez, I said, watch Brittany ask me for his things. So Brittany was like, if you don't want to give them to him, you can, you know, give them to somebody that he knows, and they can get the stuff, or you can send it to like the Salvation Army or something like that. And I was like, I text back, and I was like, I don't know nobody he knows. And so she was like, just bring it to me. And then I was telling Nez, I was like, see, she trying to get his stuff. And that's another reason why I was untrusting of her. But we're wrapping up the Brittany story. Thank you guys for watching. Hi, you guys. Thank you for tuning in to episode 14. This episode will be called the Ori Boone episode. So I met DaJuan in October, and we started dating. But I didn't meet Ori Boone until after we took the trip on the cruise to Mexico that I told you guys about right after Thanksgiving. So after I met Ori Boone, he was basically telling me how great of a woman I was to DaJuan. And he was telling me that he was married. His wife was a flight attendant. He owned a luxury car service. And that
that's how they lived. So I was interested in talking to him because I felt like that he had the things that DaJuan needed. He was in a long relationship. He was married. He had a wife, and it seemed like that he respected her, and I felt like that he could give DaJuan advice on the things that we were going through. So, Ori would call me periodically. We would talk about things that happened at the auction. We would talk about how things were going in our relationship, all the things that I was doing for DaJuan, and etc. So, when things started going sour for me and DaJuan, like around the end of January, he didn't want to have relations with me unless we was having a threesome or another woman was involved, and I felt that that was a problem. We couldn't even go on vacation and vacate because he always felt like vacation meant let's go and look for some female. So Ori was talking to him, and especially after we contracted the STD, Ori was basically like he needs to chill, be happy for what he has, and make his woman happy. And so I knew that everything that I was saying to Ori, he was going back telling DaJuan. So I was very careful about the information that I gave him. I was only giving him information that I did, in fact, want him to relay to DaJuan. And he was doing that. And every time I would talk to him, I would see a change in DaJuan for the better with the things that I was suggesting that I needed. And so, when we contracted the STD, he was telling me like HSV was something that was very common. A lot of people didn't know that they had it, and it was not as bad as I thought that it was, and that we can actually live with it. He was referring me to herbalists and various other things. So he asked me to record a conversation that we were having so that I could go back and listen to it and basically get the information that he was trying to relate to me, and I did. And so when, there was a time when Megan was kind of fed up with DaJuan being MIA on her, and she was like, if you're going to be gone, come and get your stuff. So he told me that he was going to go get his things, and I didn't think nothing of it because he had completely downplayed the relationship with Megan, saying that they were never in a real relationship, and he couldn't be in a relationship with her because he was on the road and he didn't want to be long distance, etc. So when I talked to Ori was basically trash talking Megan, talking about how controlling she was, how she wanted to talk to DaJuan 24/7, and basically how she was unable to put him in a position that I was able to put him in. And so he should, be happy with it and just get his things and let it go. So when he was planning to get his things, he was supposed to go out to LA like a couple of days prior to his Vegas trip and get his things. And I was fine with that, but he ended up starting to act funny. He was accusing me of having an issue with it, and that's what really made me have an issue with it. So I was talking to Ori about that, and, he was like, I'm going to talk to DaJuan, and he did. So when DaJuan didn't end up going out there because we ran into a bunch of problems before the trip was happening. So he was just going to go to Vegas with his homeboys like he originally said. And so when he went to Vegas and I realized that he had took the $400K, I had called Ori first, and I was like, he's stealing from me. And Ori was like, no, I don't think that he's going to steal the money. I don't know him to be like that. He was like, he is probably just holding that money for security because he don't want to get put out and so on and so forth. And I was like, so he going to hold my money? He going to steal it and just in hopes that I don't put him out? And so when DaJuan did leave with the money, I was calling Ori, and now Ori went from wanting to talk to me to saying his wife didn't want him to get involved. His wife didn't want him to pick up the stuff from Megan's house. And he just basically hoped that we resolved everything and got back together, and then he blocked me. And since Ori runs a luxury transportation services, I was able to call him from different numbers in which he had to answer because he didn't know if it was me or if it was clients. So I was reaching out to him, and he was just basically saying the same thing over and over. He hoped that we get back together, and he didn't want to be involved. And so before this all happened, Ori was talking to me and DaJuan because he was like, y'all need to get a couple of SUVs, black Cadillacs to be exact. Send them down here so I can put them to work, and y'all can make $5,000 a piece a week on these cars. So I was like, okay, that sounds like a good thing. Let's go ahead and do it. And I was like, we gonna work on it when we make some money in the next auction. We gonna try and do that. So when he stole the money, I had looked up the prices of the SUVs, and I seen that they was approximately $150,000 a piece. So when DaJuan was trying to give me only $100,000 of the $400,000, I was under the understanding that he had in fact bought these trucks and put them with Ori's transportation service. So DaJuan assured me that he didn't, and that's not what happened, and that he spent the money running from me. So he was like, if I would have done that, I would have just rented them, but I know he can't rent them because of his credit situation and the broken leases and bad credit that he had, that I was also trying to help him repair. So I figured that he did, in fact, pay for these things outright. So Ori was like, he's not helping me. I don't know what's going on. I haven't talked to him, etc. So, he had blocked me and everything, and I couldn't get in touch with him. But prior to that, there were several nights that me and DaJuan would be laying in the bed watching the game. When we win an auction, we would always call Ori, and he would basically celebrate with us and talk noise with us and vibe with us. And, I just thought that he was an overall good friend. So when I made that trip to LA, I went by his house. I left a note on his door. I was trying to reach him. I could not reach him. And I didn't put him in the episodes because he was talking about getting a lawyer and going against me for defamation if I put him in the episodes. But when I talked to the lawyers was saying that if all the information was true and clear, that I could in fact make these episodes, and I can use their names and their information that was provided to the public. So I did. So what I am trying to do, and where I need you guys, TikTok. Hey, TikTok. Are you guys ready for episode 15? Yes. Thank you guys for checking in, supporting me, and watching all of my episodes. This episode is called The Cedric Taylor Story. So you guys, in the previous episodes, you guys have not heard anything about Ced. And the reason that you hadn't heard anything about Ced is because during this whole process of looking for DaJuan, he was actually one of the only people that I could reach out and talk to that had access to DaJuan and can relay messages. And I didn't want to put him in the series and kind of mess up my lines of communication. And since this is pretty much all over with, guys, for me at least, not for DaJuan and the police, since this is all over with, I'm going to give you guys all of the episodes on all of the people involved. So, I met Ced probably in about February. Maybe late January, beginning of February. And the only reason why I met Ced is because when I was planning DaJuan's birthday party here in Houston, Ced was one of the people that Ori had said
that DaJuan would want at his birthday party. So he gave me Said's phone number and information to reach out to Said so that I could pretty much book him a flight and he could come down. So during my relationship with DaJuan, he was telling me about Said. And Said was supposed to be like DaJuan's best friend. If you guys see the pictures of DaJuan is a tall, dark-skinned, bald man, and Said is a tall, light-skinned, bald man, and they're quite muscular, and they feel like that they are chocolate and vanilla. So DaJuan used to warn me all the time. He used to be like, when you meet Said, watch out for Said. He loves to try to date my women, and he is definitely going to come on to you. And I was telling DaJuan, you don't got to worry about me with any of your friends. I would never, ever date any of your friends, even if we broke up. It's just too many men. It's too many men out here. No need to do such. So I had talked to Said only on a few occasions, and it was always solely about the birthday party. And I would hear DaJuan talking to Said on the phone periodically, but I wasn't really in their conversations. Now, what Said come into play in the story is when DaJuan was going to Vegas, he was going there to meet Said and some of their other friends. So, like I said, I already had Said's number because of the birthday party situation. So when DaJuan ran off with my money, I was calling Said because I knew that they were together. Said wasn't answering the phone. He wasn't answering my text messages. And right before Ori blocked me, he was telling me, like, talk to Said. When I met with Megan, she was like, talk to Said. Said is DaJuan's best friend. If anybody could talk to him, that's it. So I reached out to Said, and I was telling him about the money. And as you guys could see in the text messages below, I posted them. He was like, this man stole your money. That's messed up. He ain't never had no money before he met you. He never filed taxes. He was like, I don't understand why he on this bum stuff. Me and all the people around me are telling him that he needs to give you this money back. So basically, Said was like a liaison. He was calling me, trying to work out deals for me and DaJuan so that I wouldn't go to the police and file criminal charges on DaJuan. So Said was sending me, as you can see in these text messages below, he was sending me messages like, DaJuan said he could give you $200,000, and I was like, yeah, he could give me $200,000, and he's gonna have to make a payment arrangement on the rest. I'm not going to accept half of the money in which he took from me. So it was always like a back and forth. I was asking Said on several occasions where DaJuan was at. I offered him the $50K reward, but he was kind of giving me information, but I didn't even think that the information was good or accurate. I felt like he was trying to misdirect me in ways where DaJuan wasn't. So I never really followed up on any of Said's leads. And then as we were talking on the phone, he was telling me, like, DaJuan didn't let me know that you was in Vegas, because if you would have seen me, you would have been wanting to talk to me. And I was like, Said, like, to be real, I would not have. I was like, I am in love with that man, and I wouldn't have done him like that because I didn't have no eyes for anybody but him at that time. So I was like, it wouldn't have worked. So Said was sending me pictures of him. You can see the pictures down below. Said was, he had started kind of like taking a liking to me. We began to talk every morning before I went on my search to look for DaJuan. I would tell him certain things that I wanted him to tell DaJuan, like that I was going to the police and things like that, so that he can understand the gravity of the situation. And so Sed was trying to talk to me. He was like, you know, you need to rest, make sure that you eat, you know, this is all going to work out. He was also telling me, like, dispute the money with the bank and just go to the police and let the police handle it. He, you know, he was really showing a liking towards me. But at the same time, he was also trying to get money from me, often asking me about the reward money, often asking me about giving him some money towards him helping me find DaJuan, when he really wasn't even giving me any information on DaJuan. So Sed was at a like a family get together type of situation, and he had me on FaceTime, and he was telling all his people, like, look, this is the girl from TikTok, and all the guys was like, oh, you shouldn't have messed with him, you should have messed with a man like me, he ain't no real, you know, for how he did you. They were like, I think he messing with this woman, I think he over here doing that, I think this and that. And so they were giving more information than Sed was. And Sed was like, you know, look at her, she's so pretty. He was like, her videos don't do her justice. You really need to see her on live stream so you can see how she looks. He was like, you know, he was like, why is it that all of the men like that get the women like you, and I get the women like my baby mama? She's sorry, she don't have no job, she don't have no place, she's having to stay with me to get on her feet. He was like, I want to send her back to her mama. And I was like, you know, don't do that, you know what I'm saying? She there, she taking care of her kids, she doing the best that she can. And I was advising him not to, you know, and I was talking to him because I did feel like that I was appealing to his sympathetic side when, you know, he was showing care for me. So I'm not sure how DaJuan found out that I was talking to Sed. I don't know if Sed told him that or if Brittany told him that. I'm not sure how exactly he found out that I was talking to Sed. But he contacted Sed and he told Sed, he was like, stop talking to her. She is dangerous. She is manipulative. And she is going to try to have relations with you to get back at me. He was like, so don't even think that you got it, that she's only doing that to get back at me. And Sed called me back with that, and I was just like, oh my God. So I was like assuring him that DaJuan was lying, and I was just trying to lure him back into my good graces. Now, you guys, it is so much to unpack with this Cedric Taylor story. So I am going to end this episode number 15, and then I'm going to come back with 15 part 2. Thank you guys for tuning in. It gets better, I promise. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 17 of DaJuan Wilson, the 400K scammer. This is the Nikki episode. Okay, you guys, when I first started off the story, I was using other names and efforts to shield some of the people into the completion or the resolution of this whole thing. So when I began to tell this story, Nikki, I called her Vicky. She was one of the strippers that we met at the strip club in Miami in January. Okay, so we went out to the strip club. Me and DaJuan had went to the strip club. We went the night before, and we met Lena. So this night we went back to the strip club. We was leaving out the next day, and he wanted to go back. So we went back, and I was kind of not in the mood. I was kind of having an attitude. Football was playing, and I felt like we had already came to the strip club, so I really wasn't interested. So I was watching football in the club, and we were sitting at the bar, and the bar has a stage right in front of it. So there was several women that was coming and dancing, but the club was slow. You know, I was trying to get into it, but I wasn't there yet. So out comes Nikki. So I kind of seen her walking up from the corner of my eye, and I was like, was like, oh, she a baddie. She's cute. She's like exactly the type of woman that I'm attracted to. That's what I saw her. You know, I didn't say anything because, of course, I had this little attitude going on. So just kind of peeped out the corner of my eye. So she was coming to get on the stage, and DaJuan looked at me, and he was like, right towards Nikki. And I was like, you know, whatever, you know. And so I started watching the game again. And, you know, she working. It's slow. You know what I'm saying? And we obviously got money. So she came over and she just started, her attention was solely on me. She was like demanding my attention from the TV. Like, look at me, bitch. And so I was talking to her. She was cool. She was down to earth. She made me feel extremely comfortable with her. You know, I saw that he liked her. I liked her, you know. So as the night went on, she, after she got off the stage, she came and she was chilling with us, and we was drinking and we was hanging out or whatever. So, you know, Lena had came home with us the night before. So Lena walks up in the club and she's like, y'all, you with my couple, blah, 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 blah. You know, and we was all, she was saying that Nikki was a nice girl. And, you know, we were getting ready to leave. And, you know, me and him discussed if she was going to be able to come back with us. So I was like, that was cool. This was our last night. You know, we were celebrating the purchase of a home. And, you know, I'm sorry, y'all, for the thing that just happened on the other part of the video. We lost sound. But so she ended up coming back with us. We had to catch a flight in the morning, and so did she. So she came back with us, and that's when we had our interaction with Nikki. Now, I told you guys about the interactions in the previous videos. So if you want to know about the interactions, you got to go back to episode 1 and 2. Okay? So we had an interaction with Nikki. She was supposed to be getting on a flight. She had a couple of more hours. She stayed with us. We chilled. We was, you know, getting on our level with our alcohol and our rugs. And, you know, we was just hanging out. So we had took her number because we was like, you know, if we extended our stay, we was going to hit her up. And if not, then we would just hit her up, period. She was getting ready to move to Atlanta from New York. So she was like, I'm in the process of moving. You know, y'all hit me up, whatever. So I had created a group chat. In the group chat, it was me, her, and DaJuan. So the rules of our group chat was like, when we talk, we were all just going to talk in the group chat. There was no need for Nikki to be talking to DaJuan on any separate occasion, him talking to her on any separate occasion. Now, I could talk to her on a separate occasion, but they were not. They were only supposed to be interacting throughout the group. So we were doing this. We was in this group chat, and we was talking, you know, often or whatever, just seeing what's up with her, how she was doing. You know, we was expecting to see her like at some later time. So one time I was feeling like DaJuan was lying to me, and it didn't even really have nothing to do with her. It had to do with like women in general. He was just being real thirsty about wanting to have these threesomes. So I had contacted Nikki, and I was like, hit DaJuan up on the side, and I want to see what he gonna do. So she was like, bet. So she hit him up on the side, and he just basically like dissed her and was like, talk to me in the group. So she hit me back, and he was like, talk to me in the group. You know, she was like, keep dissing me. You know what I'm saying? I was like, all right, cool, bet. So he had came back to me at a later date, and he was like, have you talked to Nikki today? And I was like, no. He was like, well, she hit me up on the side, and I had to tell her to redirect her to the group. So I was like, well, you know, I'm still willing to mess with her because, you know, she just probably didn't know the rules that you and I had established, and, you know, I'm forgiving of that. We gonna carry on, basically what I told him. So throughout this time, you know, my birthday trip was gonna come up, and Nikki was supposed to go with me on the birthday trip instead of Toya. but Nikki couldn't come. She was having a hard time. She couldn't come. So she stepped out of the trip, and then we ended up adding Toya instead of Nikki. That's where we contracted the SHV. So after the birthday trip and everything, you know, I was calling Nikki. I was telling her about the birthday trip. I was telling her how horrible it was and everything that was going on. But me and DaJuan was still together. So, you know, we talked about it, and we, you know, she kept up with me. We were friends. So now, and me and DaJuan, we break up, and he runs off with his money. So in the beginning of it, I had called Nikki, and I was telling her everything that had happened with DaJuan running off with the money. And so I was telling her, I was like, he is going to reach out to you. And I knew he was going to reach out to her because he really likes her. You know what I mean? So I was like, he gonna reach out to you, and he going to try to talk to you now that me and him are not in a relationship. And the minute that I told her that, the same day he reached out to her. So he was like, me and Tisa, we're not in a relationship anymore. He was like, I'm out of the country. He was like, I'm going to come back into the country, and when I come back, I want to see you. So she was telling me, she was sending me screenshots of the text messages, and I was just like, tell him this, tell him that. So our plan was that he was going to come back to the United States, and he was going to meet her in Atlanta, and I was going to get a hotel room, and she was going to tell him that she was in this hotel room. He was going to come to it, and I was going to be in there. So that was the plan that we had. So she just needed to keep him talking. So me not knowing the situation with Whitney, I'm thinking that she's my friend, Brittany. I'm thinking that Brittany's my friend at this time. So I'm talking to Brittany because we trying to brainstorm on ways to get in touch with DaJuan. So I'm telling Brittany about Nikki, and I actually had them both on the call, and Brittany was like, I don't trust Nikki, and Nikki was like, I don't trust Brittany, and I was just crazy about who to actually trust. So once we got Brittany on the phone, when we was calling trying to work DaJuan, all of a sudden he just hit up Nikki and was like, it was wrong for me to try to talk to you. I'm not going to try to talk to you anymore. I met you with Tisa, and it'll be wrong for me to try to talk to you by myself. And he just cut off the communication. So she kept trying to get him back talking, and she was trying to reach back out to him, and she was like, since we ain't together no more, it was okay. But he wasn't going for it. So at that time, I didn't know how he was getting his information, and I still really don't know. But we all believe that Brittany went back and told him, like, hey, this girl Nikki is in on Tisa's side. Thank you guys for watching episode 17 of DaJuan Wilson, the 400K Scammer. And I'll bring you back another episode as soon as I can. Love you. Bye.